our wonderful service and celebrate. I'm glad all of you came back after Easter. You know, there's an old story about the old concept is Easter's the first Sunday. People go to church right after Christmas. So I appreciate all you fanatics being here this morning. We have an interesting lesson to work with. It's one I've been working on for some time. We had a Wednesday night, our Wednesday night meditation experience. And in the guided meditation we were doing, I was moving through it, and all of a sudden, the experience we had was one that I became aware was evolving out of status quo into a higher concept. We were leaving the beginner's mind behind and moving forward. And this stimulated a concept within me through observation over the past years that I have been part of this wonderful teaching. And that is something it caught me when I was 24 years old at Founders Church. And that was, I knew a lot of people who were there. We had 20,000 members at Founders in 1964. And the interesting thing about it, because I knew so many of them, I also was very aware that there were a lot of people coming to hear this on Sunday, and then they'd walk out Monday morning and act like they'd never heard of it before. They were coming in and evolving into an embodiment of a higher idea, yet they were giving it to everybody else and not being it themselves. And so this was an interesting challenge. How do we, how do we move forward with this? We just had a very interesting lesson that I'm going to build a foundation for my lesson this morning in our second year class and our fourth year class. And that is the different kind of students that we have who come, and having been all of them myself, I'm kind of delivering this from observation of self and others, because we get a lot of students in here who want a higher idea, want to embody it. They hear what we teach and just hit the ground running with it. And then you have other kind of students who come in here, or come into any of our centers to study. How many have heard the Zen idea? It's a story, a Zen story of the college professor who was teaching Zen goes to Japan to study with the Zen master, and he spends all his beginning time with him, telling him how much he knows about Zen. And the Zen master finally said, "Would you like tea?" And he said, "Certainly." So they had a tea ceremony, and he holds his cup out, and the Zen master starts pouring tea, and he just keeps pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring until tea's running all over the place. And he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "What you're doing. I'm doing what you're doing. Your cup is full." So the four kind of students we have is the one who comes in with their cup, and they hear what we teach, or they hear, whether it's a Zen concept and religious science concept, no matter where it's coming from, Aristotle to Lao Tse. If they hear principle taught, many times what happens to them, even though it's being taught, is their cup is upside down. Everyone say, if my cup's upside down, it's not going to hold a lot. Then they finally learn how to turn the cup over, and when they turn the cup over, what happens to them is once the cup is turned over, these students have the cup turned over, but there's a hole in the bottom. How many have been there where it just goes, bing, bing? Here comes the information. Okay, out it goes. So our challenge is to do what? Get rid of the hole in the bottom so it will stay in the cup. Yet, when we finally do that, what a lot of people do is they have the cup right, the hole is secured, but the cup's full of mud. The cup's full of dirt. So when the information comes in, so when the water of truth comes in, what happens to it? It gets cloudy, it gets muddy, it gets it. So you do it. Somebody pointed out once, if you take a cup of muddy water and put it under a sink at night and just have it drip one drop at a time into the water, if you get up the next morning, the glass or whatever the container is will be clear. It'll be clear. One drop at a time will clear it. How many say with me, one idea at a time, one thought at a time, One affirmation at a time, one treatment at a time, it becomes clear. Then you have the right way of studying, and that is what? Have your cup in the right place, free, so it's pristine, and it's ready to do what? Receive information. It's ready to receive what it needs to receive. How many know it takes a while to do that? How many know that sometimes, how many have let preconceived ideas filter out what you're really hearing? That you come in, I've had people come in and share with me, this is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard, and right behind them somebody saying, this saved my life this morning. So what was going on? It was the same message, but two hearers, so what happened? One, they both heard what they wanted to hear. How many have something you need to hear this morning? Okay, everyone say, I affirm I hear it, embody it, apply it, celebrate it, become one with the advantage of it, the magnificence of it, the effect of it. See, that's what we want. If we want change in our lives, stop trying to manipulate things without changing consciousness, because what we need to do is what? We don't treat for things, we treat for what? Consciousness. Everyone say, consciousness change happens with me when I make up my mind to be the change. How many got your hand out this morning? I have a quote here from Gautama Buddha. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. How many want more happiness in your world? How many know where it starts? How many know you can have more when you leave here today? See, Dr. Mark Carpenter, Dr. Mark was one of my teachers. Dr. Mark was, we called him Father Mark. He was the Episcopal Bishop of California until he heard religious science, and he left the Episcopal Church and became one of our great religious science ministers in Phoenix, Arizona for about 25 years. Dr. Mark used to point out to all of his students, he would have us affirm, say it with me, if everybody in the world is unhappy today, there's one who isn't. See? Because why? Because you're choosing to be responsible for yourself. Everyone say with me the first paragraph of the handout I gave you. I am the holy spark of light. Now say the first paragraph. There is one life, the life of God, and that life is celebrating itself as me. I am the healthy life of gratitude and action. Creative intelligence as me now evolves above and beyond the mind of a beginner. I am love and compassion in action and honor my lifelong journey of positive self-discovery. The spirituality of love and compassion for creation grows and blooms and blossoms as my event. And I misspelled spirituality. All right. I had to check out my spell check. So, how many appreciate spell check? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Above and beyond the beginner's mind. What happens to a lot of people who find religious science is they get caught up in something that Dr. Fenwick Holmes talked about, and that is the trap of being a technique worshiper. And this is a very interesting trap, primarily because what happens to a lot of people is they are so busy sometimes playing kumbaya with everybody that they're afraid that if they go ahead and heal what needs to be healed, they won't get to play kumbaya anymore. It's so busy, it's so much fun trying to get to it, they're afraid if they get to it, they won't be able to have fun with that experience of trying to get to it anymore. How many know what I'm talking about? So our challenge is to do what? Allow ourselves to make sure that we don't become fad metaphysicians. Because fad metaphysicians are people who have to keep their problems in place so they're ready for the next fad when it shows up. How many are ready to say this morning, oh hell, I'm well? How many have something that really needs to change for the better right now? Really needs to change for the better. Now, that change is not outside of you, and don't wait for it to show up before you start feeling better about the change. Everyone say, I feel better about the change, so the change has a place to happen. See, that's evolving out of the beginner's mind. That's going ahead and letting yourself know that the great, the good, and the wise were good enough to be true, and what they knew, you can know. What they understood, you can understand. What they embodied, you can embody. What they gave, you can give. And what they received, you can receive. Our Father which art in heaven, our Father which art within us, which is everything we are, evolves from the point that we are to where we can be. Right now, I'm standing up here on one leg. And the reason I am standing on one leg is because I have a 24-pound cat. And my cat likes to sleep on my legs at night. And the other night, he was sleeping on my left leg, and I decided to turn over. And I don't know if you've ever tried to turn over in bed with a 24-pound cat lying on your knee. Anyhow, it threw me out of bed, and I'm limping around the house. And I think as I'm doing it, I said, well, I'm probably having sympathy pains with Reverend Lacey, so we can both walk around with a cane, whatever. Anyhow, so treat for me, Lacey. Anyhow, but the challenge there is don't let the cat sleep on you. See, and then if it's sleeping on you, make sure you move it before you try to turn over. Now, that's a very interesting lesson. But how many know that some of the pain in your life is because you're just letting something linger where it shouldn't linger? You're letting it be where it shouldn't be. And the only reason it's there because you keep insisting that it be there. How would I be if I had the best of me in action and let it think as me, give as me, receive as me? We have an ongoing experience in this thing called life. It is a wonderful experience when we realize that we are the wonderful that we're looking for. We are the challenge of the universe to discover more about itself. I love G.K. Chesterton, who's pointed this out. He said, the trouble when people stop believing in God is not that they thereafter believe in nothing. It is that they thereafter believe. It is that they thereafter believe in anything. They don't believe in anything. Our challenge is to believe in something. Not something outside of ourselves sitting on a throne with a long white beard that likes this denomination and doesn't like that one. But how about a principle? See, Jesus didn't define God as an anthropomorphic being with a head, 2 arms, and a leg, and an ego problem. He defined it as love. And he said it's within us. And he also said, with it, all things are possible. Not some things, all things. And he said it's done unto us as we believe, not if we believe. So if you take that principle and you begin to evolve, what happens? You wind up with unity, divine science, and religious science. You wind up with a new thought principle, primarily because this new thought principle says, yes, it is done unto you as you believe. All things are possible, and it's good enough to be true. The great, the good, and the wise were correct when they understood the principle of self. And it's not enough just to worship the fact that they knew it. What I need to know, as Dr. Ernest Holmes says in Voice Celestial, it's not enough that they knew what they knew. What I need to know is what I myself can know, what I myself can be, what I myself can give and receive. Everyone say, I am more than intelligent being. See, you're more than that. Here's what you are. You are intelligence being something. Think about that for a minute. Everyone say, I am intelligence being something. Now, what are you going to be? Not what intelligence tells you to be. You're being what you choose to be. And if you don't like what you've been choosing, how many know you've chosen to be some things that you didn't want to be because you didn't know your choice was going to produce it? See, and the people who get caught in that, what they want to do is because they don't know it's coming from them, they look for something else. It's mommy, daddy, then, and they start playing the blame game. One of my best friends is one of the country's leading psychologists and psychiatrist, and he's also a religious scientist. He said the problem with religious science in relationship to what he does, he said if this ever caught on, it'd put all of us out of business. Primarily because we would wake up and be healthy-minded and not spend all of our time trying to find out why we have the problem. Why don't we spend our time trying to find out why we have an answer? See, if you wake up and realize there is an answer and I'm going to give up everything unlike the answer in order to find the answer and be the answer, all of a sudden I'm thinking beyond what? I'm thinking beyond the beginner's mind. I'm moving from thinking about it to thinking as it thinks. We are intelligence thinking individually. We are intelligence seeking through our individuality. We are intelligence creating something special. Now, why are we creating something special? Here's why we're creating something special. Everybody say, because I am special. See, you are special. You have never happened before. In the entire universe, you've never happened before. How special is that? See, Emerson, the great-grandfather of our teaching, said if there were two of anything, there wouldn't be any use for one of them. How many know people who spend all their life trying to be everybody else, think like everybody else, do like everybody else? Okay. I've shared this story with you before. That's kind of how I found religious. I left, orthodoxy when I was about 15 because they were sending everybody to hell but us. And I said, if we're the only ones going to be in the next place, I don't want to go.